Your next practice assignment is going to be this still life where you're going to practice shading forms. And as you can see, the light source is actually in the front to the right because I used a lamp. You're actually going to get a piece of paper that's the same size as the picture I printed out for you. That doesn't mean trace, that means you're going to draw it out, and I'm going to show you some measuring techniques. So there was my example I started on, but I'm going to start drawing it again so you can see me from the beginning. Use the end of your pencil to measure with. So right now I'm measuring from the top to the top of the cylinder and making a mark to help me. And I'm going to start by drawing my ellipse, ellipse, however you say it. And you can kind of compare and match it up to make sure you're getting the right sizes and the right proportions. So I'm just sketching out a contour line, rounding the bottom, and then I'm just going to compare again to see if I've got it pretty close. Now I'm going to start on the cone. I'm measuring again using the tip of my pencil and just kind of guessing how far away it is from the cylinder. But sometimes you can draw lines to help you see the relationship. You can see that the top of the cone is almost aligned with the top of the cylinder. And then I'm going to use my pencil to find that angle of the cone and help me draw it. And sorry about that, I accidentally cut my paper off there so you can't really see me drawing the bottom. So I'm measuring the base of the cone, Yay, it's perfect. And I'm adding the rounded bottom. Now it's time for an egg. I didn't have a sphere, so I egg-provised a little bit and used an egg from the refrigerator. And I'm just measuring with the tip of my pencil again. And when you draw spheres or circles or ovals, you want to kind of sketch it out multiple times and then flesh out your outline. So I'm going to keep going. I'm working on the cube, using my pencil to find that angle. So the cube's about half as tall as the cylinder, so I'm trying to get those proportions right and get those angles right. We see a little bit of the top of the cube, so I'm drawing two diagonal lines, and then the back is another diagonal line. And I'm drawing that side. So you can see that the front edge of the cube is actually going to be the longest edge when you're thinking of perspective. And now I'm going to start on the pyramid. And you can use your fingers to measure too, so I'm actually using my index finger and my thumb now. Some people like to use that a little bit more than the pencil technique. And sometimes you have to adjust. Miss Scott makes a lot of mistakes too. That's why I have an eraser always handy. especially when you're drawing still lifes, because you want them to look realistic and you want your lines to be in the right place and everything in perspective. And this pyramid looks a little off, so I'm fixing the bottom of it. And time for that line, the horizon line in the background. And there's my contour line on my sketch. Let's start shading. So I am using my pencil, and notice how I'm using that overhand grip to add my mid-tone. And I'm just adding that medium gray, and I'm going to go back and add my core shadow, my reflected light, my highlight in a little bit. But right now I'm just doing my mid-tone. And I'm going in different directions to get a nice even tone. So really you want to do the same thing for every one of your forms, but the way you add your shadows and your highlights is going to be a little bit different. And I'm using a blending stick just to blend it out. Remember, the blending stick is going to make the value a little bit darker. Paying attention to the picture, I'm erasing my highlights. See how bright the egg is? Now your paper's a little bit less white than the copy that I printed out, so it's not going to be as bright. And notice around the edges of the egg, the reflected light that we learned about. So you can use just the tip of an eraser. I'm adding a little bit of a shadow. I'm adding my core shadow. And I'm actually going to change pencils to an ebony pencil so you can see a little better. This pencil's a little bit darker. And here's some examples of other pencils. The 6B is a really dark pencil too, and I'm just going to show you the difference. So a regular ordinary pencil, the darkest value you're going to get is this value right here. This is the 6B pencil. You can see it's a little bit darker. And then the ebony pencil is a little bit darker than that. So I like drawing with ebony pencils. And now I'm just showing you here's our cast shadow. I'm kind of showing you the direction using my pencil. And I'm drawing my cast shadow right now, and I'm sorry I accidentally went out of the picture plane again. But here's my cast shadow. It's basically an oval because your egg is an oval shape. And remember, the closest it is to the egg or the object is going to be the darkest, and then you can blend it out a little bit lighter. And I may clean it up a little bit. You can see my eggs starting to look a little bit more realistic. So let's start on the comb now. So the comb, same thing, starting with my mid-tone. using an overhand grip. And there's a little bit of texture showing up through because the paper is underneath, and then the texture of my table showing through. So you don't have to worry about that though. There's my mid-tone. And I'm going to go ahead and add my cast shadow. It's darkest closest to the object. Just a little bit of an edge underneath. And then I can blend it out. I'm going to go ahead and speed this video up just a little bit. But right now, let me add my core shadow real quick. And using different directions and varying pressure, I'm creating that core shadow on the left side of the comb. And it goes all the way up to the tip. And kind of blending it out by adding another layer. And now I'm going to erase my reflected light. And use a blending stick to help me blend. And erase my highlight. Alright, now let's speed it up a little bit. So I'm going to keep working on this, and I'm just cleaning up my cone a little bit. And cleaning up my egg. Now I'm going to start shading my cylinder with my mid-tone, my core shadow, blending it out. Blending it out some more using that overhand grip, blending stick, erasing those highlights, and erasing that reflected light. Just a little line there on the edge. Shading in the top with a medium gray or a mid-tone. The cube's a little bit easier. It's basically 3 values. The top's your mid-tone. The side is your dark shadow. And the face of the cube is a light gray. And the pyramid, the left side is dark, and the face is going to be white. And blending those in with a blending stick. And adding those cast shadows. And remember, it's darker closest to the object. And the pyramid just has a little tiny shadow. The hard part's the background, so in the corners you can see it's darker. So I'm shading pretty dark, using that overhand grip to fill in the space really quickly and not have a lot of lines. And the horizon line is going to be a little bit darker, and it blends out. Using a blending stick to blend the values together. Try to get a gradual change. Because we want our focus to be on our still life, and there's my finished still life. Yay!